Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans, and we are here with our review of the East Final. Later, we'll do the West Final, and I have a lot to say about that. There's a lot of smiles on a lot of faces, might be one of mine. However, we're talking about this game first.
We have two stories for this game. One, oh my effing Lord, 8 fucking turnovers.
No one could hold on to the ball this game.
That, and I apologize for Argo fans for bringing this up. Chad Kelly broke his tibia.
And will be
36 seconds left in the third quarter.
Estimated 6 to 9 months, meaning
that's with rehab.
And that's with rehab, and which he will have rehab, to be fair. But that means he might not even start the Argos season next year with how bad this injury is. So only time will tell where exactly that is. But Rick, so the Toronto Argonauts would defeat the Montreal Alouettes by a score of 30-28 to advance to the Grey Cup. Chad Kelly injured in the game, and so that means that Nick Arbuckle next week on Sunday is tasked with leading this Argos team to a Grey Cup against the juggernaut, that is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I have said that going to 4 consecutive Grey Cups and winning at least 2 of them, you can make a good case for that being a dynasty. The Bombers now have a chance to make the question marks go away. And the Argonauts' response is going to have to be Nick Arbuckle or Cameron Dukes if they decide to put him in at some portion in that game. Wouldn't be shocked if that's the case. As with Nick Arbuckle in, I can't imagine his leash is extremely long in a circumstance so important. But keep in mind, Chad Kelly played okay. Well, actually, he did. He really did not play that great. But the Argos were able to do enough to win today. Because even that, it was funny. I was about to say he played okay, but I mean, he was 50%, 11 for 22, 182 passing yards, 8.3 yards on average, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. That's not very good. But
keep in mind, Janirin Grant had a return touchdown. Defense had a pick 6. So there's 14 of the 30. And then Larham had 3 field goals. But do you remember during one of the streams, we were talking about Teenage Mutant Pirate Turtles? Now the pirate himself, Arbuckles, going in.
The ping pong man himself. If you don't know where that's from, you should watch our player interview of Braylon Addison. Apparently Nick Arbuckle loves playing ping pong before games. Also known as, I hope BC Place doesn't have any ping pong tables. But anyways.
So you have...
Nick Arbuckle goes in... Yeah, sorry. I'll let you go first.
So Montreal 156 rushing yards to 135 to Toronto.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like Kadeem Carey did like vast majority of it. Whereas kind of like Montreal, it was like Fletcher had 69, Fajardo had 49, Sean Thomas Erlington had 38. So,
yeah. Now the it is interesting in the sense of how all over this game was, and how for a wild portion of this game, you can check out our stream to see exactly what we thought of this. We just were in total dumbfoundedness of how both teams that have been able to be so good at football, how they could be just so terrible in the sense of just how many times they turn this ball over. If we look at Cody Fajardo on the other side, 27 for 42, 330 passing yards, 7.9 yards on average, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions though. And it wasn't just interceptions this game. It was also just fumbles. Guys just effing dropping it. And guys just holding on, but apparently not that tight because just a little punch and that thing's coming straight out. And so, like, I mean, yeah, Kadeem Carey, 92 yards rushing. Coxie and Polk leading the Argos in the receiving corps. 5 receptions for Coxie, 6 for Polk. 105 yards for Coxie, 72 for Polk. Touchdown for Coxie as well. They were able to push it. And again, as you noted, 2 defensive touchdowns here for the Argos. 14 points there. 9 points in field goals for Lyram Haralahu, which then means that at that point, there's really not that many points left. There's just like the one touchdown offensively that was generated like through a touchdown from like Chad Kelly that you would get kind of late in the second quarter. But man, it's one of those things where, like, I remember when I left the stream and you like text me later. And I get the information on Chad Kelly, but then I also just get the information on more like turnovers. And I'm just like, I remember we even said on stream, it's like, man, like, whether it's Terrell Ford or Roland Milligan Jr., depending on who won the Winnipeg Sask game, we now learn that that's Terrell Ford. They would just be completely licking their lips at the opportunity of all these interceptions and turnovers.
So I actually kept my word, and I actually did shots for every turnover in this.
Did you actually?
Yeah, it wasn't as bad because there was only like 3 turnovers in the second half.
That's fair.
So I mean, actually no, sorry. There's one.
Now if you did that from the start of the game, that's when we'd really be in trouble. 8 shots from Rick in like 3 hours. Oh boy.
There's no way I would have been able to do the second.
Rick would be like, "Thank you guys for tuning into the stream. It's going great." That'd be like a Zach stream there where he's just bouncing off the walls. No, but it's just interesting in the sense of that both teams put up the most points in the second quarter. So it just seemed like they almost held their offense back a little bit, and then the second quarter is just like release the dogs. With the Alouettes getting 13 points. Or actually, I shouldn't say both teams got the most offense, but they got the most points in the second quarter because there'd be a punt return touchdown for Toronto that would make up at least 7 of the 14 points there. But then, of course, they would get the passing touchdown for Coxie. And then the Alouettes, 2 field goals for Maltos and a passing touchdown for Julian Grant. And there was also times where receivers were just dropping balls, which was just not good.
That too. But if you look at Toronto, I mean, Herslow, he had 4 yards. I'm not really counting that. But Toronto really only threw to 4 receivers. That's it. Raj, you go to Montreal side. Montreal threw to what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Holy
7.
Crap.
7 receivers because I count at least minimum 10 yards to be counted.
So that's excluding Mason and Dallaire.
Yeah.
Who both got
10
1
receivers.
reception. Yeah. That's crazy. Oh my goodness. I don't know why I'm yawning so much.
2 interceptions for Montreal's defense.
Yeah. Maltos goes 3 for 3. Haralahu goes 3 for 3 with his longest being 26 yards. So pretty.
Really? I don't remember Fajardo getting sacked 4 times.
I remember him getting sacked at least once or twice. Did he really get sacked that many times?
There was 4 fumble recoveries.
2 for Jake Serezna, 1 for Smith, and 1 for Holly.
I know that there is a bunch of turnovers, but I didn't realize 4 of them were just on Montreal alone, just for fumble recovers.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah. I didn't.
Damn.
Yeah. This game was a game of turnovers. Realistically, if there are no turnovers in this game, and Chet
this
Kelly
game could have been a lot uglier.
Injured, still gets injured the way he does, I think Toronto wins. Or not Toronto. I think Montreal wins. I think Montreal is probably the is difficult because I think Montreal's better offensively, but I think the defense of the Argos was really kind of the key for them winning this. As once Arbuckle was in, I think that's when the Argos defense really kind of knew, like, okay, pressure's on. Like, you got to get this done. And so they come out and they're able to get those sacks. They're able to create those problems for Cody Fajardo. So that way, then in the third quarter, they'll grab 2 field goals. Haralahu from the 25 and 26-yard line, and then the fourth 20-yard field goal from Haralahu. It's just kind of crazy in the sense of that they were able to hold them to field goals, but it just still wasn't enough for the Alouettes because they weren't able to generate anything in the third quarter. Putting a big fat donut in the third quarter just really made things difficult. As if they at least get, again, even if they just get a field goal in the third, that wins them the game. So it's just kind of crazy how just a small change of events can get it done. And I remember when we were talking with Alouette's flight deck, they were really scared of that 16-2 record because of how much it had cursed the Argos. But they go 12-5-1, still a very good record. But I guess the curse remained in the sense of that the Alouettes go down to the Argos, who finish 10-8. Actually, a decent record considering kind of the rough start they had. Although I think Cameron Dukes kind of held out as long as he could, which is a little bit why I'm surprised that how much Dinwiddie recently has gone to Arbuckle, even though I think Cameron Dukes kind of held the fort down a little bit.
I mean,
For a bit early in the season when they were had some difficult games in their schedule, but
Arbuckle did better in the second half than Dukes did.
I guess that's why, probably. At the end of the day, it's not me saying
that's how I see it.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're necessarily wrong. It's just been interesting how recently, not even the excluding like playoffs, excluding this game, that they didn't kind of rotate that a little bit more to kind of get an idea of like, okay, if Kelly goes down, who's going to go in, sort of thing. Like, that's why I'm also a little bit surprised that Winnipeg hasn't even played Jake Dolegala in even some short yardage, and it's been all Terry Wilson for that. But I mean, to be fair, I mean, if you watch the game tonight, you know that Terry Wilson in short yardage, he did just fine. But
so, what was I going to say? The Toronto's already said tonight that they're signing a third stringer for the Grey Cup. Who it's going to be, I have no idea.
Beats me.
Wouldn't it be funny if it was Brian Scott? Bring Brian Scott back.
Brian Scott, yeah. Wouldn't that be something, huh? I remember
Bring Brian Scott for the Grey Cup, and then he wins some money.
Jackson, the guy who runs Jets Hub, I remember he was really, really excited when the Bombers signed Brian Scott. And that's when I was kind of like, oh, I'm sorry, Jackson, but Brian Scott's not going to do anything here, as Terry Wilson is short yardage and Jake Dolegala's the backup when Strevy's out. Because obviously Chris Streveler is that number 2, but he is injured right now. And Jake Dolegala was at least able to hold the fort pretty good for Saskatchewan. I mean, hey, they were able to get a win against us last year with Jake Dolegala in kind of holding the fort for them. So obviously Dolegala is a decent backup. But anyways, getting kind of back to this game.
I just think like the key players for Montreal just didn't step up today.
Yeah, well, and you know what was funny?
Like Mac didn't. Bev Red only had 4 defensive tackles.
Austin Mack kind of triumphant return from the NFL, and I think someone may send out the search party because I don't know where he's been. He's just been like, where anyone seen Austin Mack? Because I sure haven't. You know, hasn't.
Oh, I have something to use that for later on.
Oh, you got something to use that for? Is that when we go to the Winnipeg Saskatchewan game? Yeah,
fucking right.
Oh my God. Well, you know,
anyone seen the Riders? Because I think they're still in Saskatchewan.
I don't know, man. It's dude. I remember when I was looking at the Jumbotron, they're showing like the fans all like excited for like the next play or whatever. Because the defense was on and everyone was hyped. But what was really funny was they go to this one guy and he has the little, how you can buy the little gopher mascot thing in Saskatchewan? Yeah. Some guy, really, really fucked up imagery. Pardon my French here. He had gotten a small rope and created a noose and put it around the gopher. And in the camera is just like dangling him like this. And I was like, oh, shit.
Hey, listen. Oh. I don't care if I mention this or not. Connor would do that with a stuffed tiger at the Argo games and kick it around.
I mean, that's a bold. It's one of those things where I saw it and I'm like,
so, I mean,
man, you know what that is? That really rides that fine line between is that okay or not? Because on one hand, it's a stuffed animal, but on the other hand, it's like, oh, that's pretty vile imagery. So I kind of saw that and I was like, oh boy.
You clearly have not been to Toronto Hamilton games in Toronto then.
Well, I've seen some more shit than that. You know that. It was funny. Just it's one of those things that no matter how many times you see it, it's still like, whoa. Yeah, I've seen fights break out. Unfortunately, we had an interesting ordeal, but but with this East final, it's just interesting how messy this game was. As I can't remember the guy's name. I think it was like Pokemaniac, I believe. One of our viewers who I was like, guys, I want to know you're in the comments down below. How is this game? And then Pokemaniac just like commented. He's like, this is a stupid game. And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Who was it? Who was it? Was it Drakenator or someone that's like, oh, I went to go get my mail. I come back and there's another friggin' turnover.
No, that was, what was the guy's name? It started with a B.
Oh, Brenwall?
Yeah, it was something like that. It was something like my severe apologies to the guy, to that guy, but he was in the stream, and
Brentwall, I think it was.
It was like Brentwall or
something
Brewall or something like that. But he was just kind of like, I went to get the mail, and they come down and they have and they got another turnover, right? And that's why I said be careful. For the Amazon delivery driver, when you come back, Chad Kelly's going to be watching the ball run the other way down the field because Marc-Antoine Dequoy has got a pick six.
So here's the funny thing is because I could watch. So for those that don't know, we got rid of our cable and we went with Amazon boxes. So I use CFL Plus. Carter watches it on cable, so Carter is ahead of me on plays.
Because I have the direct TSN feed. He has the TSN feed, then going to the CFL.
So you hear Carter, oh my God, it's a freaking pick six. I'm like, Carter, fucking shut up.
I can't shut up. It's a pick six.
No, I know, but it's just like, okay, I'm watching it, and all I hear is in my ear, oh my God. I'm like, oh.
But you know what I loved of that? It's like there's like an inner voice in Rick being like, "This is what I get for like doing the cheap version, not getting cable."
Oh, cable's these days are fucking expensive.
No, it is. No, the only reason we have cable is just because my parents are just so used to.
Because if you think about it, you think about, I pay $110 a year.
Yeah.
I get cable and like Netflix and well, not really Netflix, but something like it, and Prime and all that. Like
I know. Trust me, I know when I move out, I'm going with the Amazon box. Absolutely. But anyways, it is interesting watching the live stream and seeing the viewing experience with me and Rick.
I will say,
yeah,
Mackay Polk was not the top receiver for Toronto today.
I know, it's shocking. It was Coxie. It was shocking to see that Polk wasn't
mind you, Chad Kelly, I will say Chad Kelly, before he got injured, did finish strong. The game was not good to him at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think he was like 2 for 6 or something.
And
like
also,
that
to be
start
fair,
the game.
not all these interceptions were necessarily on the on. Now, like, to be fair, one of the interceptions Chad Kelly throws, Darnell Sankey with one of the nicest picks I've ever seen, jumps in front of the bullet pass.
No, so the thing that you don't see it is one of the Alouettes players puts their hands up, it hits their hands and lands in Sankey's hands because they showed a replay of it.
Okay, that was still real quick thinking, though. To be fair, that ball was going quick. And, like, most players would not have gotten that. But Darnell Sankey.
No.
Darnell Sankey did. And it was just kind of interesting in the sense of that this game was also really, like it was interesting, from the perspective as a Bomber fan. Because you go into that game thinking, okay, realistically, Bombers have a similar chance against the Chad Kelly Argos or the Cody Fajardo Alouettes. Who really cares who win this game? Maybe go Alouettes simply because screw Chad Kelly. But then Chad Kelly goes down, but then we're like, wait a minute. If they win, Arbuckle starts the Grey Cup. And if we beats this guy, and then we're like, okay, you know what? Maybe go Argos. And so then the Argos win, and we're thinking,
but you know what, though?
All we got to do is beat the Riders.
I don't know what it is, but Cody Fajardo did not have a good season.
What was his numbers?
Give me 1 second. I'm just looking at his.
Because I was about to say, good game or good season? Because those are two different things.
No, so in his last, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Last 9 games of the season, he threw 6 touchdowns in 9 games. That's not even a touchdown per game.
Yeah. No, and it was definitely the latter half. Is funny enough, this is actually wow.
Like he threw 10 touchdowns
now,
in the
first
only
thing is, I wouldn't say he had that bad of a season, because to be fair, he throws for 3,105 passing
I'm
yards.
not saying
but then in 2023 last year, he gets 3,847, but that's with an extra 4 games played. And then the year before, he threw 3,360, but that was with 16 games played. And he only played 14 this season.
I'm not talking about the yards. I'm just saying,
yeah,
if you want your team to win, your quarterback has to score touchdowns.
The one thing
he
I
only scored 6 in their last 9 games.
Yeah, no, he was definitely a front-heavy season. As he would go 16 touchdowns on the season, 7 interceptions. So at least he was 2-1, over double touchdowns to interceptions ratio. But throwing the touchdowns matters, even if it means having those interceptions on there. In the sense of that, when you throw an interception, you give the team an opportunity to have a touchdown. When you throw a touchdown, you have the touchdown. It's not an opportunity to have a touchdown. It is the touchdown in itself. And so naturally, throwing touchdowns offensively give you a bigger benefit offensively than throwing an interception does to the other team's defense, because you're giving them the potential of points, but you throwing a touchdown, you have the points. It's kind of, similar to, I guess, if you know physics terms, energy versus potential energy sort of thing.
So Cody Fajardo went 27 for 42, 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions.
Yeah. And so it's but it's one of those things where it's so funny when we see the 16-7 from Fajardo, and it's not even necessarily, and it's not bad. It's actually a relatively good record in that regard. But then when we then compare that with a quarterback like Zach Collaros, who has been able to be very, very successful, even though this year, 17 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. So he's thrown a lot more picks. Now, to be fair, a lot of those were also a lot earlier in the season, but threw a lot more picks. But because he threw 17 touchdowns and was able to drive the ball down the field and whatnot.
Yeah, but the thing is,
he was able to get those touchdowns at particular times when they needed to. that was able to make a big difference in the sense of that Zach Collaros plays a very, very bold style of game, and he will throw a ball into double coverage if he thinks he really is able to get past those two defenders. And earlier in the season, to be fair, honest, he didn't. Later in the season, though, yeah, I saw a few times tonight where he threw into double coverage, and the receiver came out with the ball because Zach Collaros put that in the perfect spot.
You know what I think it is? It's because I'm so used to watching Bo throw touchdowns this year with 32, and then sitting there watching Cody Fajardo throwing 16 and then 3 tonight. It's like, there is a big difference.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's just interesting seeing how that dynamic works, though. Definitely. Just trying to
but
windows.
Other than that,
is there anything else you got?
I mean, they'll have to depend. I want to say they'll have to depend on Kadeem Carey and the run game a lot next week.
Yeah, no, and that will be very important. And the Argos got to be careful in the sense of that the Bombers will be expecting that, but then also the Argos in a few games. Like I can't remember if it was last game or the game before, where the Argos had no running game, none. Like so last week. Yeah, last week, Kadeem Carey doesn't even crack 50. Then if we go to week 21, okay, Argos play the Elks, and then Kadeem Carey doesn't even play.
No, but that's because they didn't dress him.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go a week prior to that.
Season.
Kadeem Carey on 14 carries only gets 55, so doesn't get that much. If we look at if we then look at their win against Winnipeg, Kadeem Carey only got 39 yards. Like Kadeem Carey, like the Argos are going to have to really adjust this towards Kadeem Carey, which is pretty dangerous considering the fact that Kadeem Carey, like, he's had decent games, but he hasn't really had a game that's that crazy. So they'll kind of have to hopefully try to turn that around. And also the Bombers are going to see it coming. So,
but I mean, the Argos will also see the usage that you guys have out of Brady Oliveira.
See, the problem is that Kadeem Carey isn't Brady Oliveira because Brady Oliveira is Brady Oliveira.
See, when I did it on stream, I did it very well, and people are like, "Oh, that was a good one." I'm like, "Well, I've been learning from Carter, so."
Brady Oliveira. Fucking, that's right. Well,
but yeah, it will definitely be interesting.
Yeah.
All I'm gonna say, I don't care what happens. If you guys lose to Arbuckle, you will not hear. I won't let you hear the end of it.
Okay.
Just putting that out there.
Bring it on.
I don't care. People can say, "Oh, well, your team didn't make the playoffs." Well, at least your team didn't lose to a fucking third string quarterback 2 years ago. That was a third string 2 years ago in Ottawa.
Well, or we can say, remember that time when the Bombers in 5 seasons won 3 Grey Cups?
But that's in 5 years, which you guys would have lost 2 to the same freaking team.
Well, when did we? No, if we lost to Toronto potentially.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is that, or instead of talking about a loss, we could talk about a win, in which we can talk about the greatest CFL dynasty since the Edmonton Eskimos in the early 80s, late 70s.
True.
Think about it. If the Bombers win on Sunday,
yes,
it is the greatest CFL dynasty since the late
81.
70s. Their last one was in 82. They went 77, 82, so 5 Grey Cups in a row.
Yeah.
77, 78, 79. Or wait a minute.
But did they win them all, though?
They won 5 in a row.
Damn.
Yeah, I know. It must have been real boring. Especially with how much they relied on the run game back then. Ugh.
I will say this. With what people were saying on social media, there are going to be a lot of people not watching the Grey Cup next weekend.
I've actually already, you know who I kind of feel bad for now? Rider fans that bought tickets to the Grey Cup, because I saw some in a group chat who were like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. The Grey Cup is next week. I don't even want to go. I sunk almost $1,000 into flights, tickets, hotels, and now I either have to cheer for the Bombers or cheer for the team that if they win, Chad Kelly gets a ring. And so this is a nightmare situation for Saskatchewan and BC fans.
Well, I mean,
because they have to make up their mind.
So regardless if you're going to see the game or not, there's going to be activities during Grey Cup week that I'm sure, like, there's.
Oh yeah, no, it'll be fun. At the end of the day, I think the Grey Cup, no matter who's playing it, is going to be an experience. I will be at next year's Grey Cup, the 2025 Grey Cup, and I hope my Bombers are in it. But even if they're not, I know I'm going to have some fun.
It's going to be you guys next year, Calgary in 26. Montreal's going to be in 27 because they haven't hosted one since 2008. It's going to be Toronto or Ottawa.
It also could come back to Saskatchewan or Winnipeg. Think about it. Hamilton got two pretty close.
No, because you got to remember, there's still Montreal, Ottawa.
But they don't always do it evenly like that. Hamilton got one, and then literally like 3 years later.
Yeah, but the only reason why we got that is because of COVID season. We had to have restrictions on the COVID season. That's why we got it.
I see. You got it again because they kind of said like the first one didn't really count the way it normally would have because of those
because of all the restrictions. Okay, fair enough. Why we would have ended it. That's why we would have had, because otherwise we wouldn't have had it in two years in a row. But my whole point is, depending on if they go opposite, then that means it's going to be Calgary, Montreal, Edmonton, Toronto, or Ottawa, or it's going to be Calgary, Montreal, Toronto, or Ottawa, Edmonton, then the other Ontario team. That's what I think the next 5 years are going to be like for the Grey Cup.
Yeah. Well, they'll figure it out. But I'm sure all the fans of the Grey Cup this year will enjoy the heated seating, the heated venue in BC Place.
And you guys. They don't have to worry about the friggin' roof being open.
Yeah. Well. Anyways.
All I know is halftime. I'll have it muted.
Yeah. No. Halftime will be when we we'll treat.
I'll be entertaining our guests on stream.
I'll you know what I'll do? I'll just mute the TV and just like turn on Green Day on my phone and listen to Green Day again. That's what I'll do.
Or Blink 182.
Yeah, or Blink 182 or something like that. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. I think this is pretty much all we got. Is there anything else?
Don't forget to check out our West review later on this week. We will
it'll be out
Grey Cup.
Actually, it'll be out later today. Because
later today.
Yes, because when this video is going up, it'll then be coming out later on today. So make sure you guys tune in to check that out, the review of the West final.
And we'll have a Grey Cup preview later on in the week. And on this channel, I will be live streaming Sunday's game.
Yep. Grey Cup 111. Rick will be there.
For those that want
I
to
will
stop by.
be there kind of on and off.
He'll be there by phone.
By phone sometimes. So make sure you guys tune into that. And
I kind of did your outro on the stream, but I didn't do all of it.
Well, I'll do it here. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell. Helps out the channel a ton. If you are listening to this on Spotify, first of all, thank you. Second of all, give us 5 stars. We would really appreciate it. And peace, love, and positivity to all you wonderful people at home, and we will see you guys next time.